Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida Fair Tax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, August 12th, 2022. The FAIRtax and Literacy. Every responsible parent wants a good education for their children because they know that means more future job opportunities. Now, many parents choose a place to live based on the quality of the public schools. Now, no one disputes the fact that literacy is vital to having citizens who can understand the complicated issues that face all of us. Now, many of us get our information now from video and social media, but to really understand that information requires basic literacy. However, our public schools are failing our children in many areas of the country, and this means real problems for the future of our country. Here's some startling facts about the current state of education in the United States. 42 million adults cannot read at all. 21% of U.S. adults read below the 5th grade level. 19% of high school graduates can't read. 85% of juveniles who interact with the juvenile court system are considered functionally illiterate. 70% of inmates in America's prisons cannot read above the 4th grade level. 2/3 of students that are unable to read proficiently by the end of the 4th grade will end up either in jail or on welfare. 90% of welfare recipients in this country are high school dropouts. 20 million Americans pay someone else to file the 1040EZ form. Now, this is a one-page tax form with about 10 blanks to complete. Half of all 17-year-olds don't have the math skills required to work in an auto plant, according to the President's National Mathematics Advisory Panel, and an average of 1 in every 5 adults are unable to calculate their weekly salary when told what their hourly rate of pay will be. Now, based on these statistics, is it any wonder that more and more states are enacting legislation to provide scholarships and vouchers to families that can be used to pay for all or some of the tuition charged by private schools? The latest example is Arizona's Empowerment Scholarship Program. Once signed by Governor Ducey, Arizona will provide a $7,000 annual scholarship per child to the parents of the 1.1 million K-12 students in Arizona. The scholarship can be used for expenses such as tuition and tutoring, transportation, education tools, i.e. textbooks and computers, and other costs directly related to supporting a student's educational needs. Well, how can the fair tax help solve the nation's education problem? Well, first, we need to enact legislation to implement a state version of the fair tax in each state. Currently, there are bills in Alabama, Georgia, and Nebraska which will replace the present state income taxes in those states with a state-level fair tax. These state-level measures all include a prebate so that no one pays taxes on their basic necessities. This ensures that low-income workers don't pay an unfairly high portion of the overall tax burden. Second, passing state fair tax bills will allow the states to reduce or even eliminate their property taxes. This is important because about half of school district funding comes from property taxes. The present dependence on property taxes often results in wealthier communities having better funded schools. Third, a state fair tax can provide all of the funding that a city, county, or state needs. With a state fair tax, citizens can see the portion of the fair tax that will be used to fund education scholarships that can be used in private schools, the courts, the police department, fire department, and other government services. In addition, people will no longer have to pay property taxes to help fund local public schools and then have to spend even more money to send their own children to private schools. Fourth, states that enact state fair tax laws will be more attractive to both individuals and businesses than their neighbors with an income tax. To an even greater degree than the states who currently have no state income tax, states that replace their income taxes with a state fair tax can increase the prosperity of its citizens and generate more income into state coffers. This additional income can be used to fund better government services like schools, or it could possibly be used to put more money in people's pockets by reducing the tax rate. Finally, enacting the fair tax at the national level will result in economic growth that's unimaginable under the income payroll tax. It will result in significantly increased demand for labor, resulting in higher wages for more workers. It will generate a booming economy that will result in a stronger and more stable revenue stream for both the state and federal governments, and it will eliminate federal payroll taxes. This will result in a 7.65% pay increase for employees and a 15.3% pay increase for self-employed workers. Under the fair tax, payment for private school tuition can be made with 100-cent dollars, not with the net amount remaining after deducting the income payroll taxes, and education costs are not subject to the fair tax. The fair tax will result in a reduction of between 12 to 20% of the price of items we purchase because the costs of the income payroll tax system have been removed. Competition will lower the prices. And finally, the fair tax will let citizens take back control. In conclusion, Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Now, many of you reading this article were able to achieve success in your life due in large part to your ability to read and understand what you were reading. Your level of education is directly related to your ability to understand the fair tax. Now, one of the reasons more Americans don't support the fair tax is that they simply don't understand it. It's not that they're stupid, it's just that they haven't been educated on all the benefits that the fair tax will bring to them and to the country in general. Unfortunately, the decreasing literacy level helps the ruling class and their minions in D.C. justify their unstated goal to control us under the guise of taking care of us because they think we're incapable of understanding what's in our own best interest. They think we need their help because we're just not as enlightened as they are. Now, most of us are aware of the book Common Sense by Thomas Paine. A blog posted on the Frickonomics website pointed out that it's not a simple book to read, and people need to be proficient in literacy to read and understand it. In 1776, Common Sense sold 500,000 copies in a population of 2.5 million. If the same percentage of the American population today purchased the book, it would sell 60 million copies. The National Assessment of Adult Literacy estimates that only 13% of Americans today are proficient in literacy, not the 20% of Americans who purchased the book in 1776. Helping improve access to a real education will ensure that our future generations will be better informed, allowing them to make good decisions and take back control over their government and their lives. The income payroll tax system is broken. It's no longer working. We can't repair it, but we can replace it with the fair tax. All Americans must join us before it's too late and the wonderful country we love is further harmed. Join with us and take back control of our country, not with bullets, but with the elimination of one of the biggest threats to our liberty and economic prosperity, the income payroll tax. We should all remember Edmund Burke's warning that applies to our efforts to take back control. Nobody made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. We should also remember this quote from George Orwell's 1984, which, if we do nothing, may foretell your and your children's future. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. So what can each of us do? We can write letters and make calls to our elected representatives and attend Zoom town hall meetings demanding that if they really wanted to allow Americans to take back control, the first step is to eliminate the income payroll tax system and enact the fair tax. Take back control. Help us pass the fair tax. The IRS will be gone and we'll pay our taxes when we make purchases. We, not the ruling class and their minions in D.C., will decide how much federal tax we pay. And we'll know how much tax we're paying because taxes will no longer be hidden from us. They'll be clearly shown on every retail receipt. If you have friends who don't know about the fair tax, send them to FAIRtax.org. Have them watch the whiteboards under how it works, and if they agree, ask them to please join us. Then, contact your members of Congress and the President and demand that Congress pass the fair tax, the only truly fair tax.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at FAIRtax.org.